Okay, so this is the recorded version for lecture 4, Annuity. Uh, we'll be starting over with some several definitions in ordinary annuity. What are they all about before discussing in different variations of annuity such as deferred, due, perpetuity, and uniform gradient. And with uniform gradient, we can there's arithmetic and geometric. So by definitions, an annuity is a series of equal payments occurring at equal periods of time. That is your only clue whether your engineering economic problem is an annuity problem. Remember that a dapat meron siyang equal payments spread over equal periods of time. So here's how ordinary annuity look like. So essentially how we would derive this is that we are returning per payment per period back to its present form. That's one of the formulas that we can use. Essentially, how do we do that? We return yung A1 na to towards its present, which is now. And most of the problems pala dito, we're gonna be returning it back to its present time. So since most of the problems kasi we're gonna encounter in the future is we're forecasting yung budget na yan in the future. So hence, we need to return it to its present value, the now, so that we know how much we need to cover in advance. So for example, here, A1, that will be times 1.1 plus interest rate, whatever the interest rate is, raised to negative 1. So us with A2, A3, A4, and then A sub n. And basically, if you derive the equations further, you'll have this particular equation. This is our present worth annuity equation, where present worth is equals to annuity times 1 minus 1 plus I raised to negative n divided by interest rate. This one, in particular, is called the uniform series present worth factor, the items in the bracket. I just added the definitions here so that you have an information what it is. This naman, just in case given naman yung present worth, and then given ka na interest rate, ang tawag naman dito sa bracket na to is just yung capital recovery factor. You notice that there are two kinds of formulas dito, pero I prefer you guys using tong formula na lang to so that we are consistent. Okay? This one. Bear in mind, halos di naman magbabago yung formula. There will be just different variations lang. So ito yung present worth annuity problem. And madalas natin yung gamitong equation to. So, kung merong present worth, meron naman yung future worth when finding yung future worth when yung annuity is given. The derivation is pretty much the same, but instead of finding yung returning it back to present time, so we're pushing it forward naman. In this particular case, an here, an minus 1 will be moved forward by 1 period, and then a4 will be moved n minus 4, so on and so forth. So basically, future worth niya, yung classic formula natin. And then, if you derive it further, you will have this particular equation for future worth annuity problems. There we go. So magiging future worth is a times 1 plus I raised to n minus 1. Notice yung difference. So, ito na tawag dito sa brackets naman ito. Dito yung sinking point factor. Ito naman ang tinatawag yan dito. This yung uniform series compound amount factor. In summary, ito yung equations ng present worth annuity problems natin. Ito naman yung future worth annuity problems. So, you can see yung difference niya. Here's another recap. Ano yung mga conditions when finding P when A is given, finding F when A is given. So, this one pala, do not be confused if I write equations such as in this particular order. Because ang ibig sabihin lang naman ito lang naman yan. This is yung syntax. You can plug and play in syntax. You can use in Microsoft Excel. Okay? So, hence ganun sila magsulat nila. Leland at ni Santa Maria. Okay, so that you can find, you can automate yung pag-compute ng present worth using yung annuity and yung interest rates and yung given period. Okay? Alright. Okay, so bear in mind, ito pala yung formula. I can guarantee you this formula, you will use this more often. Okay, so let's here's a sample visual presentation ng Annuity. So samples ng Annuity tulad nito is like renting spaces, yung rent pala. Why? Kasi regular na hulog siya per month. In this particular case, it's 2 years, pays 15,000 pesos every end of the month, considering the interest is compounded monthly. So from the perspective naman, you have this particular cash flow. As long as naka-spread out yung payment, equal yung payments per period, and equal yung intervals of time nito. Okay? Sometimes ipapahanap sa'yo, okay, what is the total accumulated amount nito from the perspective ng renter, ng landlord, or sometimes ipabalik sa'yo, ano yung total single deposit nito. So in this particular case, it's best that we try to solve a problem muna. So here we have sample problem 1. What are the present worth and the accumulated amount of a 10-year annuity paying 10,000 pesos at the end of each year with interest at 15% compounded annually? Okay. And then later, number 2, what is the present worth of 500 deposited at the end of every 3 months for 6 years if the interest is 12% compounded semi-annually? So let's try for number 1 muna. In this particular case, it's pretty straightforward. We know that we have to solve for present worth, and we know we have to solve for future. We are given yung total period, 10 years, and we're given yung payment in each year, so ito yung annuity na. And we also have yung interest rate, na 15% compounded annually. Now, say hindi na nakalagay dito yung word annuity, you can identify if the problem is an annuity problem, especially if there's payment that is paid or received in an equal amount of time interval, in this case 10 years. Okay? So first things first, magiging importante yung cash flow diagram natin dito. Why? Kasi at least dito, regardless of yung perspective mo, cash flow diagram would show to you visually what would your equations would look like. So here you go. Here's a 10-year period. We know that the person is paying 10,000 pesos now. So what we need to know is what is P dito. Okay? Fortunately, we have everything we need for our equation dito. So for present worth, we're gonna be using yung formula natin ito ulit. This one, A times 1 minus 1 plus I negative n raised to I. So substituting in known values natin, we will have this. A is our 10,000. Yung I natin will be 0.15 compounded annually naman. And then negative 10, that will be a total time period niya dito. So bibili na naman siya. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Going back dito sa present. Calculating it, you'd get the answer of 50,187.69. Now, what about the accumulated value naman? So instead of yung P dito, we need yung total value niya dito. So we're gonna move forward now. Yes, we can do that. And we have all the ingredients naman natin dito to use our formula for future work naman. So that'll be A times 1 plus I raised to n negative 1 over I. So substituting, the A natin is 10,000. And 1 plus 0.15 raised to 10 minus 1, you would have the answer of 203,037 pesos and 18 cents. Don't forget to box your answer. Next up is for number 2. Here is what is the present worth of 500 pesos deposited at the end of every 3 months for 6 years if the interest is 12% compounded semi-annually. Now, bear in mind, so is this an annuity problem? It seems so because 500 pesos is being deposited at the end of 3 months for 6 years. Okay, so every 3 months, so that means 500 pesos is being deposited every quarter. And For every quarter, there are 4 quarters. That means in a given year, it's being deposited 4 times. So meaning the total period should be around 24 kasi 4 times 6 is 24. Okay, so now that we know na this is an annuity problem and it's being deposited 24 times in total coverage na 500 pesos, we need just to find yung present worth. But wait, tama ba yung interest rate na gagamitin natin? I don't think 12% compounded semi-annually doesn't match yung per quarter. So meaning, our first step is to determine what is our interest rate per quarter. So it doesn't match dito. Fortunately, there's a relationship between effective interest rate, and we know that there's an equivalent in 12% compounded semi-annually. You can find also your effective interest rate. So in that case, we can equate both equations to know yung interest rate per quarter equals to the interest rate concept compounded semi-annually. So that's what we need. Why? Because we can definitely get an effective interest rate using this one and also using this one if we know it. So we can definitely equate them both themselves together. Next up is here. Remember this formula. And this is the effective rate of interest. And so equating each other, so we will have this one. And we will get our interest rate I. It goes to 2.96% per quarter. Remember, we need yung interest rate, not the rate of interest. Okay? We don't need your nominal rate of interest. Interest rate we need. Okay? So just bear in mind when you're dealing with annuities, making sure that when the annuity is being paid, we're using the appropriate interest rate depending on what period we are. Okay? So in this case, this is our cash flow. We know there's 500 pesos is being deposited every 3 months, or in this case, every quarter, totaling of 24 quarters for 6 years. There we go. And all we have to do na lang is find yung present worth using our formula. And we just substitute yung 500 dito. Dito yung 0.0296 or 2.96%. This one is negative 24. So substituting them, and we will have this answer, 8,504.37 pesos. Let's try another one. All right. A businessman needs 50,000 for his operations. One financial institution is willing to lend him money for 1 year at 12.5% interest per annum, discounted. Remember this? Another lender is charging him 14% with the principal and the interest payable at the end of 1 year. Third financier is willing to lend him 50,000 payable in 12 equal monthly installments of 40,600. Which offer is the best for him? Okay, so classic problem. So before we answer your problem though, remember the exam I gave you about investments. When it comes to investment, the higher the interest rate, the effective interest rate, the better, because a higher interest rate would mean a higher yield. In terms of debt lending, I think it's in your best interest that you have the lower cost of money or lower interest rate. Why? That will incur you lower interest charges per monthly payment periods or depending on yearly payment periods, depending on period payments. Okay, so meaning the lower your interest rate dito when lending, the better. So the question is, which one is the lowest? So for us to do that, we can draw our cash flow diagram here. For example, this one is first institution is willing to lend him at 12.5% discount. So that means he'll be receiving a discounted amount of money here, and they'll be paying 50,000 somewhere in the future. So if you get you 12.5% interest of 50,000 less that of the principal, you will receive 33,750. And you have a discount rate of 12.5%. You can get your interest rate neto by dividing D1 minus D, which would give you somewhere along the lines of 14.26%. So this is your offer 1. For offer 2, is pretty much straightforward. You are to be provided. A bank is willing to lend you 50,000 at an interest rate of 14%. So you will pay back the principal plus the interest, 50,000, and whatever the interest is. The third offer is slightly different because this one is an annuity. Here, 12 equal payments. So you have 1, 2, 3, 11. By the 12, you have to pay him, so 50,000 and payable in 12 equal monthly payments of 4,600. So, lalagay natin dyan, 4,600. The problem is we don't know yung interest rate dito. Remember, this is 12 equally monthly installments of 4,600. So we know yung interest rate na dito, we know na interest rate dito. So far, offer 2 is really good. Here, we need to find interest rate. But the interest rate that we're gonna be solving here using equations ng annuity is the monthly interest rate. It's not exactly the effective interest rate that we need per annum para malaman natin which is the better offer. Okay? So, we have yung principal dito, definitely. We have yung present worth natin dito. Okay? We have yung annuity na 4,600. But what we don't have is yung interest. Yung monthly interest rate. And then after we get this, all we have to do is just substitute it here so that we can get yung effective interest rate niya. Kasi, and this one should be around 0.0156. And if you plug it here, you will be able to get 20.36%. And if you compare it, it seems to me that the offer 2 is less than that offer 1 and definitely less than that of offer 3. Therefore, pick offer. So in terms of problems sa ganito, I would rather, just highlight what is the conclusion here and the solution is the backup. And you see how your cash flow diagram directly translates to how you solve your equation. So I will let my presentation animation play out. There you go. Second offer would look something like this. And then this is the third offer. How you solve it, you simply get this 14.28%. This one is 14. Third one, you get yung I, and then you convert it. You find your effective rate of interest here. There we go, 20.36%.